So, can you introduce yourself,
Sure.
Ujjwal? I mean,
Sure. So myself Ujjwal Saxena. I'm currently residing in Noida, UP. Like I have an overall 3.6 years of IT industry experience, and I started my journey by working in Morgan Stanley, in a SRE role, SRE team, and wherein my day-to-day responsibility included performing writing code in Scala language, then writing automation scripts using shell scripting and all, scheduling cron jobs, and then I used to be the first person to do the weekend and weekly releases as well, then even on monthly releases. Then I used to work on Jira and PRs as well. Then I was served as a cloud support engineer in Amazon Web Services for 2.5 years, wherein my day-to-day responsibilities included providing cloud native technical support to all the premium enterprise clients. Um, Related to services of Kubernetes like EKS, then containers for ECS, then Fargate, CloudMap, X-Ray Service, Alexa, and then code pipeline, code deploy, CloudFormation, IAM, then S3 service, and yep. So apart from that, I got promoted from cloud support associate to cloud support engineer within an year itself, owing to my contribution of writing multiple public documents, are publishing multiple articles for critical customer issues, and like I even got multiple positive feedback and accolades from senior technical account managers and from peers as well. um, that's pretty much about my journey. Apart from that, mentioning about my education, I completed my senior secondary schooling from Don Bosco School, Alaknanda, New Delhi. I was a topper in mathematics subject and also awarded
yeah,
scholar
that's
award
fine.
for the same. And then I completed my graduation in IP University, Delhi. My overall CGPA was 9.45 out of 10, and I was a topper as well for the
Yeah,
same. And yep. So
yeah,
at present,
that's
I'm even
fine. Yeah.
okay. Okay. Yeah.
So you have done some releases in platform like Morgan Stanley. So can you explain about branching and merging strategy and releasing? How do you release a product from scratch? Okay, how do you design a branching and merging strategy from scratch? I mean, I know that there is a lot of variations in branching and merging strategy of each organization, but can you explain in your view? Okay.
Okay, so basically we used to use Git for the same, and the code we used to be published by other developers for the backend team, and I just used to for some updates or feature update, I just used to pull it and then do a checkout to the main branch, and then make some more modifications in terms of features, extra features that we want, and then in terms of security patch I used to add, and then just push it, made a commit, and then push it to the master branch. So in that way you used to we used to update the same. Is it
Do you use future branches, dev branches, main branches? How do you use them? I mean, what's the strategy behind them? I mean, how do you release a product from, for example, a main branch or maybe a release branch?
we do a checkout for the same, like we, in order to move to a different branches, we just use a git checkout, and then we switch to
So, do you
different
manually
branches.
do that or automate it?
Yes.
Do
uh,
you automate it? I mean,
no, it was a manual process, because of course the environment was like very limited, and that was not some, like it was less to automate. So it was some, in Morgan Stanley it was a manual process that I used to work. Yeah, but of
okay.
course in terms of automating and all, there were like I used to write multiple shell scripts for cron jobs and scheduling task and all, so that was a different one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Fine. Got it. Got it. Got it. So, do you have experience in? How many years do you have experience in DevOps? I mean,
3.6.
okay. Did you design a CI/CD pipeline there? Did you implement a lot of CI/CD pipelines there? Right.
Yes, yes, yes. Using Jenkins in Morgan Stanley, and even in my previous role as well in Amazon, when I used to work with multiple customers. And apart from that, apart from Jenkins, I used to use code pipeline as well. Code deploy, code pipeline. Yeah.
Okay. Can you explain CI/CD top five best practices you have followed to achieve some business outcome?
Mm, okay, so yeah, as a best practice, let's say, right, security is the first thing that we need to ensure. So ensuring that the only limited people have access to the SCM, like the source code management or the repositories, and like it's like we are providing correct user data and credentials in the Jenkins so that Jenkins have the access to the SCM to pull and fetch the code, and then like providing the following the principle of least privilege. That means providing limited permissions to that Jenkins IAM role, or the user, so that it's not having an admin privilege, right? So we should provide only limited and whatever is required for that particular server to perform. Okay, so
Yeah.
these two, and right, apart from that, uh, ensuring that we are like in we used to have multiple like pipelines for multiple branches. So we used to
Yeah.
use multi-branch pipeline for the same, rather than having a single, like performing, or triggering pipeline for different branches one at a time. It's like much more efficient and if
Yeah,
easy to
that should be
manage.
covered
Right.
in branching and
Right.
merging strategy also. But yeah, you
Okay, I
have
see.
missed it, I think. Yeah. Anyway, so
Okay.
continue.
Yeah, so multi-branch pipeline, and then uh, right. Publishing logs of the build to a particular S3 bucket. Okay, for the so for
Okay.
for future recovery or analysis as well, and right, effective, like for effective management of Jenkins, it's better to integrate with any other IAC tool as well. So we used to I like make use of Terraform for faster provisioning of infrastructure as well. So basically making use of Jenkins to trigger the Terraform script that can provision an EKS cluster or an EC2 instances inside it, right? So basically, like using these five, couple of basically five strategies, you can
Okay.
ensure that you are making the provisioning faster and secure with security as well. So yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
So, so what type of security integrations did you take in the CI/CD pipeline? For example, there are a lot of tools, but explain me the concepts. So, what are the shift left? What is the shift left mechanism in CI/CD, or in the DevOps, or in any other cloud ecosystem? What is shift left? And explain about in terms of CI/CD pipeline. Okay.
Uh, okay, like as far as I can recall, it's more about debugging, like analyzing. Firstly, it's the process includes analyzing the um, main cause of where the security is lacking, and then shifting towards left strategy, in the sense like we are able to identify the main cause from where it all started. So yeah, in that way. So it's like um you
Okay.
know huh um
Okay.
that's what. Yeah.
I mean, shifting left is all about, I mean, for example, earlier it used to be done at production. Now we are doing it even the staging or development environment also. No, that is a
Huh.
definition of
Yeah,
shift left.
I see. Okay, okay. Yeah.
And can you explain about, I mean, what security tools do you use in the CI/CD pipeline? For example, Jenkins. So, what are the security tools in the CI pipeline do you use?
Okay.
And
Okay, for continuous integration, CI pipeline, right? Um, like ensuring that the credentials are stored, they're defined in a proper way inside the manage Jenkins sections,
okay,
credentials folder. And then we are not let's say for when we are you make integrating Terraform, so the most common customers used to do, or is like we are passing secret key and access key as well in Terraform script, that is
Mhm.
basically storing the data in the TF state file as well, Terraform state, so which is not the recommended way. So storing that TF state file in an additional database, let's say some S3 bucket, and then adding some lock-in feature in it using DynamoDB. Okay, and then so this will
I
ensure
remember
that
that
the
one.
credentials are yeah. So in this way, we'll ensure that okay, credentials are not exposed directly in the TF state, even though multiple people will be having access to that same TF state file remotely.
Yeah, but
So
at the end also, I mean, the TF in the TF state file, the access keys are visible, right? So how do you tackle it?
Uh, Pass it using variables like Terraform provides parametricism. What means like create a separate file where we are passing defining all the values. Let's say AWS access key ID, secret key ID, and all, and then using those
But
variables.
obviously again, that would
Okay.
be passed in the variables, right? That would be
Where's
exposed there. That is more dangerous than this.
I see. So
How do you tackle
yeah,
this?
like we in S3 we can ensure encryption. I mean, see, whoever will be, we can just at the TF state level, of course, access key and all will be there, but we can
Have you
add
ever heard of a vault?
HashiCorp vault. I see.
So,
Uh,
so
okay.
Terraform is introduced. I mean,
Uh,
it's from
yes, yes,
Terraform, right? The
yes.
HashiCorp.
It's
So, why
HashiCorp
do they
vault.
introduce? I mean, it's
Yes.
because it has to be user, right? So
I
even
see.
there
I
are a
was
lot
coming
of
to that.
tools in the market,
Hmm.
right? So even for
Correct.
example, Kubernetes secrets, which are very
Huh.
much stale,
For
you
the
should not
pods.
use Kubernetes secrets. You should use an external tool like Seal Secrets or Vault, okay?
Okay.
Because
I see.
you know the reason. I mean, okay.
I see.
So yeah. And can you explain about how do you do continuous deployment at your at your enterprise? I mean, at your company or organization. So, what are the tools, technologies? What's the process? Can you explain it?
Okay, so like it's we in case of Amazon, when I used to work in previous role, we used to make use of CloudFormation stack. So where we just
Okay.
define either YAML or JSON. We can either write on the same, or we can just fetch the same manifest stored in an S3 bucket. So we it basically used to create resources in a stack format, and so in that way it used to be able to deploy. So we can provision EKS clusters as well, even deployments as well of pods in it. Or yeah. So apart from that, in case of open source, we do have a Terraform for the same, and yeah, for deploying. So
Okay, got it. I mean,
mhm.
what about the Kubernetes environments? How do you
Huh.
use CD there?
um like it used to be a manual process that I used to do. Like let's say, because there used to be a certain level of applications. Let's say because I was in support role, right? My main purpose was to provide technical support, like in terms of any customer is having some enterprise or
So,
production issue, right? So
okay,
in that
that is
case,
fine. So,
huh.
can you explain? I mean, what is your understanding about the CD uh, in the Kubernetes? How do you tackle it? Is there
Okay.
any framework or mechanism to tackle that? Because obviously, if you are using kubectl client, you have to do it manually. That is time
Mhm.
taking process. So you have to literally watch for every resource. That is time taking process, right? Is there
I
any mechanism? Is there any framework, or maybe is there anything to tackle that?
Mm, okay. For continuous deployment in case of kubectl, we can do. Um, 1 second. If we define a user data, let's say this, right?
So have you
Uh,
ever heard of GitOps?
okay, but I haven't worked on that. To be
Okay.
honest, yeah, only Git level. I have worked on that much, or Argo CD for multi-cluster management and all. Yeah, not on GitOps. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'll be
Okay.
able, because since I'm aware of the architecture and all, I'll be able to get to that. Yeah, that's
Okay. Fine.
yeah.
Fine. Okay. So can you explain about something about how Argo CD works? I mean, how it does it? I mean, is it pull model or push model? So
Um, yeah. So I mean, it's just an open source, so the way I meant is like it's an we used to work with the customers itself, but yeah, based on whatever I can recall, Argo CD is of course like a multi-cluster management tool where we can define a multiple clusters, monitor and manage effectively, and it's based on a pull model. Like it's basically pulling all the metrics and data from the each of the clusters and the resources and all, and we based on that we can manage them. And if we want to restart any pod as well, we can send the request them as well. Like let's say we want to terminate a pod, so we can manage the pod or the deployment over there itself and restart it. from the Argo CD console UI itself. Um, yeah, yes,
Okay.
that's. Mhm.
Okay. If you understand GitOps, that would be better. I mean, yeah.
I see.
So yeah,
I just
yeah,
didn't got
GitOps is
exposure
also
on
there
that.
in
I
the
see.
job role. That is why I'm stressing on it. Yeah, that is about GitOps and all the stuff. How comfortable are you with Kubernetes? I mean, uh,
Uh,
how can you rate out of five?
4.5, 4 to 4.5, because Kubernetes is still evolving, so I'm not giving full. But yeah, like being,
Oh, cool.
I,
That's I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
I'm
Let's
well
go
versed.
into that. Okay. So let me. So have you ever heard of service meshes? Do you have experience with
Uh,
service meshes?
like Istio is there, but it's and being open source, I didn't got that much to work upon it,
Okay,
to be
fine,
honest.
fine. Let's
Yeah.
go into the the core Kubernetes. So can you explain, for example, I'm a business client, okay? So I'm
Mm.
using VMs from maybe 5 years or 10 years. From past 5 or 10 years, I'm using VMs to deploy everything. So now on a sudden date, you are saying that you are my employee, let's say. So you are
Mm.
on a sudden date, you are saying that shift to Kubernetes. So I want you to explain why to shift to Kubernetes. What are the benefits of Kubernetes? Why do you use it instead of VMs? Okay.
I see.
So and one
Uh,
more thing is that so yeah, we have an moderate load, not
okay.
full load. Okay, I mean to say that it's not uh, heavy load, loaded users. It's a moderate load. How do you define that? How do you back the statement? Okay.
Okay, sure. So first thing is like Kubernetes help in effective management of your workload, like the VMs as well, along with your application. Okay, it helps in effective scaling up as well. So what I meant is, let's say you're having five critical applications and some other application pods as well, which are at the backend database, or let's say some non-critical applications. Now they all are running in terms of one or two of your instances or VMs. Okay, now the thing is, let's say some issue happens at the VMs, or the underlying VMs are impacted, and since they are already running for such a long time, right? So they will be holding a lot of data as well. Okay, now,
Yeah.
Kubernetes has this feature of data persistence as well, where we can incorporate multiple other data volume storages like EFS and EBS file systems. So, where we can store the data, and that too, it will help in auto scaling of the instances as well, like auto scaling of VMs. Okay, at the same time, wherever some issue like this happens, so let's say the pods which are running right now in your
Yeah.
on-prem instances, something happens, disk failure, out of memory issue happens, or let's say some hardware failure can happen, because it's based at the end based out of
Yeah.
hardware. So if
Yeah.
something happens, your application pods will go down, your data loss can even happen, and they will be going into pending state, right?
Yeah.
So the one more thing is, like, this is can be avoided, this failover can be avoided, I mean can be achieved in case of Kubernetes, where we will be having load balancing for to distribute all the traffic, auto scaling group to manage all effectively all the instances. And apart from this, even though you have moderate traffic, reaching to your workload or website, still let's say some surge happens, right? Or so even in that case, we can enable auto scaling at the load balancing level as well. So that will help in, based on the request, your targets, your instances will be scaling up and down. This will basically help in ensuring much more cost effective, right? Let's say you are just having two or three instances which are running day and night, right? But based on your workload, it can be scaled down more, right? So that effective management using Carpenter or cluster autoscaler, that we can make use of in case of Kubernetes, right? And of course data collection is there in terms of volumes. Then one more thing is monitoring as well, because Kubernetes has integration with multiple services like Prometheus and Grafana, and then real-time metrics for CloudWatch, right? And then we can even ensure security using AWS WAF or Shield. And then we can, let's say your client is there. I'm based out of India, and your website is hosted on
Yeah.
Ohio or US site, right? So in order to reach, let's say your servers are hosted on those areas itself, so there will be a latency when I'll be trying to reach out to your website. But using Kubernetes we can integrate multiple other service, let's say CloudFront or CDN, right? For Azure it's there. So using that we can ensure that the my request is going to the nearest edge location. So let's
Yeah,
say
but
from me.
with the VMs
uh,
also we can integrate it, right? With the
uh,
VMs, AWS
yeah,
support everything. I mean, for example, with the VMs we can
yes,
integrate load balancers, autoscalers, CDNs, Route 53, whatever. So with VM also we are able to do it. I have to go to Kubernetes? Give me a solid reason. I mean,
uh, it's about, you might have like whatever you have been doing in this case of on-prem, management, it's more about you have to do it manually on yourself, right? While in case of Kubernetes this can be provisioned automatically, like based on your workload, based on your CPU request, based on the amount of workload, your instance, your pods can be scaled up, your instance can scale up. So in this way, like it makes it much more effective, and of course it will be more cost effective as well for future. So let's say one more thing is, you're using EC2 instance, I mean VMs right now, where you're
yeah,
defining, let's say for this much of pod, we have a request and limit. For based
yeah,
on this, let's say we have M5 type of instance, right? But for Kubernetes, the better advantage is we can make use of serverless as well, Fargate. So based on those pod, we can have those Fargate instances itself, serverless instance, right? So that will be much more effective, and that too they are spread across multiple AZ availability zone. So in case of single AZ failure also, your on-prem instance can get impacted, right? But this
okay,
will be avoided, and failover will be there uh, in case of Kubernetes, because it will ensure that pods are spread across multiple availability zone, right? Using topology spread constraint. So in this way, like it's basically having any ensuring that we don't have any downtime during any upgrade, or with minimum latency as well, even though you include all sort of auto scaling group and all with your on-prem, right? So yeah.
okay, fine,
Yeah.
got it.
Mhm.
So one more thing. So for example, let's say you have been tasked with some multi-region deployment in Kubernetes. So how do
Mhm.
you design multiple Kubernetes clusters in different regions? And how do you ensure that service discovery, data consistency, and failover between the clusters will happen? Okay.
Okay, I see. uh okay, so firstly um we'll of course be having a cluster set up in most of the regions. Okay, then we'll connect each of them. There will be interconnection between them, so of course if there are more than 10, we'll make use of transit gateway, or otherwise we'll make use of VPC peering to connect all these clusters, okay, in the
Okay.
private network itself. Then of course we will be ensuring all the connectivity in terms of their VPC cider to be allowed in each of their security groups and the subnet level. Okay, there will be no public access allowed at the instance level from outside world, okay, because it's all internal itself. Along with that, to ensure failover and all, there should be continuous monitoring as well, and log collection. So continuous monitoring, we can make use of Prometheus for the same, because we can collect all the metrics from different
Okay.
different
Okay.
clusters from Prometheus, and we can make use of one service is there, Thanos. Okay, so we can
Yeah, I got it.
make use of Prometheus to
High
send it to Thanos.
availability. Yeah, high
Exactly.
availability like
Right?
Prometheus.
For data.
Okay, got it.
Right. Yeah. And for log collection, of course, make use of CloudWatch. And for alarming as well, we can make use of CloudWatch alarms and Event Bridge, and then that can trigger, Lambda function as well for further, um, um, any other deployment or any other function that we want to work upon. And of course, for each of the clusters, we need to ensure high availability and all by making use of
The
correct
biggest problem
carpentry
in
and
the
all.
multi-region is the data consistency. So how do you solve it? I mean,
Mm, okay. Um, just would like to understand a bit more. Like these, each cluster will be having different applications, right? Or is it the same? If
yeah,
you can.
it's like a blue-green deployment.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
have one ocean here, another ocean there. Okay. So
Okay. Um, One second. So let's say we AWS DMS data migration service is there where we can create multiple replicas of the database across multiple regions, and that we can configure.
Cross-region replication. You got it.
Yes,
And
yes, yes. Yeah. Cross region replication, CRS. Yeah.
and
Mhm. Uh, and mhm.
so, do you know how RDS works? It has
uh,
master and
Slave. I see.
yeah, which
Um,
are read replicas.
I see. Yeah. Read replicas. Yeah. I see.
So
Yeah.
you will enable read replicas. You
Correct.
will
Correct.
literally do cross-region read
Ha.
replicas replication.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
I
that
see.
is how you do it. I mean, anyway,
Yes.
yeah, you are good at.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Hmm.
Uh, and do you have experience in Helm? I mean,
Like in terms of using them, like I haven't created a Helm chart, but I have experience in using them. It's just like load balancer controllers and also it's yeah in that way.
okay,
Yeah,
fine, fine.
like values.yaml are there which we can
Yeah, why
customize.
Helm is it? Can you just define? I mean, why it is it?
Yeah, basically what happens is like let's say for any predefined Helm chart, we want to customize something. So there is always a values.yaml file is there. So which is having a default configuration for each of the tool, let's say. So for a particular set of deployment, let's say there will be replicas defined in it, image will be defined, resource quota will be defined in the same values.yaml. And if you want to change it, right, according to our use case, so we can just define it like helm install or pass that values.yaml, then hyphen set, and then if you want to change the replica, so replicas equals to from 1 to 3 if you want. So hyphen set, then space replica equals to 3. So in this way
Okay,
we can basically override the default configuration which are passed in the values.yaml. So yeah.
okay, fine. Uh, so 1 minute. So do you have experience in observability? I mean, monitoring and observability?
um, Prometheus and Grafana, yeah, and
Okay, I
CloudWatch.
mean,
Yeah.
Prometheus and Grafana are somewhat
They are
related
different.
to.
Huh.
Yeah, they are different, but Grafana is used for visualization and Prometheus
Metric
for the
collection.
one. So how do you do logging? I mean, the logging and tracing. Do you have an understanding? How do we do logging and tracing? What's the difference between metrics, logging, and tracing? Can you explain?
Um, okay. So metrics logging is like basically
No, not metrics logging.
I
So
mean that's
each
what
word is different. Okay. So
yes, that's
what is
okay.
differences between metrics, logs, and traces?
Okay, so metrics is about like the independent, like the values of, let's say it could be in terms of utilization or consumption of resources, let's say CPU or memory. Then logging is of course like the logs that being pushed by the containers or the pods and all. Okay, and it could be even the application logs or the events of the cluster, while the
Yeah, real
logging
time
is done
data.
metrics. Correct. Yes, yes. And one more was there for tracing. Tracing is of course like the um, it's like uh, uh, comparing for with like it's somewhat more metrics only, but in terms of comparing with the historical data as well, we can make an analysis with traced out metrics. We say
Okay,
so.
but
Yeah,
yeah. Fine, no problem. Yeah,
yeah.
understood. So as you said, metrics is all about historical data,
No,
which
no,
is
no.
present.
Metrics is for the CPU resources usage and all. The metric in
It's
the
historical
values which
data
are coming.
only, right? I mean,
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, okay. I see. Sorry for that. Yeah.
okay, so okay, fine. What are the tools do you use for these metrics, logging, and yeah, tracing? Let's leave it. Okay, so for now, so what are the tools do you use for metrics, logging, alerting?
Okay. So I used to use like CloudWatch Container Insights, which used to make use of CloudWatch agent, along with for CloudWatch agent used to collect metrics and all, and then used to have Fluentd, which used to collect the
Okay.
logs and push it in the log group of CloudWatch. Then for Prometheus, we used to have Prometheus server itself, metric server itself, which used to collect all the metrics and all. And yep, apart from that, in case of if I speak more in depth for CloudWatch, we can store all the logs. Fluentd will be collecting all the logs from the application containers and pods. We'll be sending it to log group, CloudWatch log group. From there, we can send it to S3 bucket using Kinesis Firehose, and then
Yeah.
make use of analyze it further using Elasticsearch. So yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Mm.
How do you do alerting? I mean, uh,
Yeah,
um,
alerting is making use of using CloudWatch alarms. So basically,
do
let's say
you use
based on
any
the
Prometheus alert manager? I mean, in term,
uh,
I mean, not the cloud one, from the open source version. I mean, did you use any alert manager?
no, no, no.
Okay, fine. Mostly cloud, right?
Mostly
Okay.
cloud. Like because it was more of a security thing, so they used to restrict it lost. So when
Okay, fine.
replicating,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you can learn it later. Yeah, but the
yes,
concepts are same. I mean, at
yes,
least you have an idea about those concepts. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's fine.
yeah.
So, for example, Prometheus is there. What kind of model it is? Push model or pull model?
Mm, it's a pull and push because it pulls the metrics from the cluster and pushes it to
Yeah,
Grafana.
which is beneficial. It does both, but which is
Uh,
beneficial?
uh, Beneficial. Uh, 1 second. It's I mean, because it's pulling the metrics, so of course it's beneficial because otherwise it won't be having any metrics. But of course, at the same time, it has to push for further visually dashboard and all to Grafana. So pull is
Um.
more important. Pull is more important.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine. Fine.
yeah.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So,
Uh, yes, I think. Okay.
so, so, how good are you with Terraform? I mean, ISE.
Um, like I have worked on it for 1 year. But yeah, so I'm aware of like in my Morgan Stanley, in Amazon sometimes, but on a daily basis with customers. So yeah, um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm
Okay,
aware of the
fine. Got it.
concept. Yeah. Mm,
Yeah, got it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
mm.
So, can you explain why we use Terraform in day-to-day activities? How do you use Terraform in your day-to-day activities?
Huh. Like Terraform is like an open source, infrastructure as a code tool where we just write the code and we based on that we can manage and provision or deploy our infrastructure. Okay, we can spin up any EC2 instance, we can create S3 bucket as well, and we can create entire EKS cluster using the same. So the benefit of using Terraform is like it has multiple support for different cloud provider, which is not in case of CloudFormation. Okay, so that's what I've been liking the same as well, and I've seen it's been more recommended, and people, other customers, multiple organization use that, right? And the best part is we can create, because of its idempotency feature, we can create a separate module and we can reuse it every time. Okay, it
Okay.
has parametrics where we can define variables and of course use a different place. And the Terraform state file is much more effective of managing what all have been already been deployed to the remote cloud. So we can check the Terraform state file and see that okay, this have been already been deployed, and we can just deploy everything whatever we are writing in the code in main.tf file by Terraform init or plan and apply command. So it's easy to destroy as well, delete everything using
Yeah, yeah.
Terraform destroy. So that's what, it's easy to provision and makes it much more helpful and fast. So in that way.
Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. So, can you explain, for example, let me give you a scenario. So, for example, uh, for example, in my AWS cloud, I have manually provisioned around 100 plus EC2 instances. So now
Okay.
the problem is that I have to destroy them, or maybe I have to manage them using Terraform now. So there are two options now. So one option is that I should manually write whole Terraform code, or uh, maybe I have to insert to the Terraform state file again. I have to change some configurations there. So that is a little bit manual, and it is very complex though, right?
I
Hello,
see.
Ujjwal, are you there?
Yes, yes, yes. I'm hearing that.
Your
Yep.
camera is,
Or visible
yeah,
now?
your camera is not. I mean, it's stuck. I mean,
Oh, I'm here only. Okay. My net is also fine only. Um, Audible now. Let me turn off my other network Wi-Fi. Visible still?
I mean, once switch off and switch on the cam, that would be what.
Okay, 1 second. Um, Works now?
Yeah, it works now.
Okay,
It's
sure,
a
sure.
simple restart issue. Yeah.
Sure.
So
Mhm.
where we are, so I'm saying that one option is that do manual way, and what is the other option? So can you automate it using Terraform? I mean, can you? Is there any option to import? Sorry, to
I see.
do to import into our Terraform configuration, or to instate the Terraform state file? Is there an
Mm,
option?
eh, um, I'll just give you the okay. We can make use of data source, I believe, like wherein we can um, you know fetch the details or the instance IDs and details of the EC2 instances in the EC2 console, and
Yeah, but
then
that will only fix, right? I mean, what about?
how
I mean, it should instant to the Terraform state file. It should change
I
the Terraform state file.
I see. Um, 1 second. Terraform um, workspace. Terraform refresh is different. No, it's not. Okay. If I fetch it, then um,
So
okay.
just I have given a hint
Uh,
before only. So just check it.
import.
Just revise it.
Okay.
Terraform.
Small import is there.
Yeah.
If yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Terraform import. Okay.
So it's there in name.
Okay.
Okay, you can use import to do it. I mean, you have to
Sure.
just configure, say that what's the instance ID of
I
those. I
see.
mean,
Hmm,
uh, yeah, it will also generate the code also. So
I see.
nowadays,
Okay.
Terraform is also generating the code. That's cool.
I
So
see.
yeah, you have to just think around that. Yeah, fine.
Sure. I see.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank
So so 1 minute.
you.
Oh shit, my case failed. Okay.
Oh.
So can you explain how to upgrade a case? I'll upgrading now. Live. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Um. Like, just ensure that before we upgrade that the API version for the applications are compatible enough with the Kubernetes version. Uh, the
One more time. Your the
video,
camera has
huh?
been stuck. Yeah, video has been
Uh,
stuck.
Audible now. I mean, visible now.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
visible now.
okay.
I don't know whether your camera problem or the platform, but
No, no, because I can hear and I mean everything is fine at my network
yeah,
level as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean,
okay.
I can see
Uh,
you, but sometimes it is stuck in. I mean, maybe
okay. Okay.
sometimes Chrome has
I
some
see.
issue.
I see.
See,
Uh,
even sometimes even the assessments whenever you're taking,
hmm.
the audio is very low. I mean, it comes
Oh.
because
Okay.
the input, or maybe it differs Chrome to Chrome.
I
Maybe
see.
you can
Okay.
refresh the catchy or whatever. But yeah.
I see. I
So
see.
how do we upgrade? What are the end steps to upgrade
Okay.
an Kubernetes cluster from
Sure.
starting to
So
ending?
I'll like to explain this based on the best practices as well. So the
Yeah,
best way is
fine.
like first updating the control plane. So wherein we do get an option of upgrading from the console itself.
What are
That
the
feature should
prerequisites before upgrading? I mean,
sure.
first say about that, then you can.
So
Okay.
we should ensure that the application that we are will be running for the next Kubernetes version, right? Uh, they are compatible, like the SDK are supported, and they won't have any failure issues. Because multiple times, what happens is clusters will get upgraded, but applications won't be, running fine. They will stuck at initializing phase or something, right? So first, we need to ensure that the API version for the application that we are running for the pods, they should be compatible enough with the Kubernetes version 1.31 or 32. Okay. Then the second thing is like that's pretty much like you can make use of PDB as well for all the application pods, especially which are critical. Okay. So that and yep, that's pretty much. Then coming to the cluster upgrade process, we do have three-step process itself: updating the control plane, then the data plane, and then the add-ons or the Kubernetes API. Okay,
Okay.
so starting off with the control plane includes the all the update of the five components: Kube API, server, etcd, Kube scheduler, and controller manager. This is of course taken care by AWS itself because it's hosting that. So we just do it from the console. Then the data plane includes the updating the instances. Updating the instances means updating the AMI of that instance, right? So it's
Okay.
like the rolling update strategy that has been followed. So okay,
Okay.
then comes the which also updates the kubelet as well. Okay, and then the third part is the updating the Kubernetes API or the add-ons. Add-ons are the VPCNI, Core DNS, and kubeproxy. So these basically act as a bridge between the control plane and the data plane. So everything needs to be in sync with the same version so that it's all up and running. There's no communication issue or something in terms of any API, old API versions and all. So that's what.
Okay. Got it.
Mm, mm.
And don't you drain the nodes, drain the pods, garden the things? I mean,
I mean, that will be like taken care. Like if you don't want any downtime, make sure that we are using PDB, so it will be taken care slowly. But other than that, this will be automatically
pod
taken care
disruption
by
budget, right?
PDB, pod disruption budget. So where we just
Okay.
define maximum unavailable pods that we are fine to tolerate, right? So let's say out of
Okay.
10 replicas of a particular pod, we are fine to tolerate up to two pods to go down. We want at least 8 pods to be up. So we'll create a PDB for that pod mentioning max unavailable as 2. So in that way. So this will
Okay.
ensure all pods to be up. Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Fine. And okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'll take a notes. I'll upgrade according to your notes. Okay. So,
Okay.
okay.
Sure.
So yeah. Can you explain? 1 minute.
Hmm.
I forgot. So can you explain about microservices? Did you ever work with microservices?
Um, with customers I have been working. So microservices like an full-fledged application where we do have different layers, let's say front end, back end, and the middle part. Right. So front end will be basically the application which will be exposed to the load balancer.
Yeah, but that is
Basically,
three tier, right? Not the microservices.
yeah. Um,
What is microservices? I mean, why it is different from monolith?
okay. It's like microservices like small services together. Uh, okay. Let's say Java based small applications are there. Running multiple microservices much more effective. That we say.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
So
we divide a monolith application into multiple
exactly.
services, like
Right.
so for effective resource utilization. For
Correct.
example, if we have a monolith, so everything is, I mean, the requests are coming into one monolith server. It I mean, you cannot have that fail. For example, if something is failing, you cannot see it visibly in the monolith. But when it
I
comes to
see.
microservices, you're dividing it. You're literally having routes between them.
I see.
If one thing fails, obviously you will work on individually on that only, rather than investigating on all things. That will waste a lot of time again. So rather than investigating on all things, we can parallelly develop microservices application and even deploy it using some design patterns. There are a lot of design patterns we can use that. But yeah, anyway.
I see.
So
I see.
there is. I mean to say that in nowadays, I mean people are migrating to microservices because of
Correct.
those reasons. And
Hmm.
one more thing is that microservices is okay, but sometimes okay, even people are migrating from microservices to monolith also, if you say it. So because
Yeah.
it is complex to execute, one thing.
Manage as well. Yeah, complex to
Yeah, it
manage
has
as.
it did need to be managed very accurately. I mean to say,
Hmm.
you can use a lot of tools, but obviously you need to know how to route between them. What is the
Correct.
networking between them? You have
Hmm.
to have security between them. Anyway, it's like
Correct.
quite
Correct.
anyway. Fine. Okay. So it's about knowledge anyway. So
No,
that is about
that really helps.
microservices and then how do you implement it and all those stuff.
Yeah, that's really
So
helps.
can
Yeah.
you explain?
Hmm.
You have experience regarding Fluentd, right? Can you explain how do you use Fluentd then?
Like basically Fluentd works as a get deployed as a daemon set on each of the instances. So basically what happens is it just fetches all the like it we can deploy it as a sidecar container for the main container for the main application pod, and it runs as a daemon set on that instance. So it collects all the logs for that particular application container, the pod logs, and push it to the CloudWatch log group. So it just collects the logs and send it.
Okay,
And yeah,
fine. Do you have experience in Azure? I mean,
I worked in in Morgan Stanley on the same both Azure and AWS. Then I completely migrated to AWS, but I'm aware of each and everything. Like, of course, the terminologies are somewhat different, but use cases are somewhat same, mostly the same. Yeah.
okay, I'll try to
So,
give some questions on
okay.
1 minute. So, can you say what are the best practices, security best practices in Azure? For example, we are deploying any application. So, what are the security practices do you follow? For example, we have a uh, we have a application, and so we are deploying in a VM, and we are connecting it's an database. So, how do you solve that security approach? What are the security practices do you bring in here?
Okay. Um, so since it's running on a underlying VM itself, we'll ensure in case of Azure, it's like the NSG network security groups. We need to configure it correctly. We rather than allowing any all traffic from all anywhere. That means 0.0.0 rather than
Yeah,
having
say
that
me
sort of.
around 10 practices. Okay, that would be fine. Yeah.
Uh, okay.
Right.
Uh,
So there
okay.
are a lot of yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like correct providing the limited rules which is required for the the instance to communicate or to other services as well. So
Okay.
configuring the network security group NSG. Okay, then
Okay.
ensuring that we are making use of um, Azure, one more thing, shield. uh, Azure shield is there, then of course SSH keys for the instance. That is different. I'm just trying to recall based on the the service name. Um,
Okay. Fine. Got it.
one second.
It can be
No, no,
confusing, but
I'm just trying to recall because the name is in terms of AWS. I'm just much more aware. I can recall faster. Shall I say in that level? Is it fine?
yeah, fine. You can say that.
Okay, so in terms of AWS, let's say an application is deployed on an EC2 instance, right? So firstly,
Yeah.
configure the security groups correctly. Ensure their subnets are configured in such a way that only outbound traffic is allowed to, outbound, even. um, let's say internet or something, and then make use of NAT gateway, so that because
Okay.
it's hosted on private subnet. Okay. And uh, three things are done, then ensuring that we are providing limited access to the instance, and for that we will ensure that the IAM roles and IAM users have not everyone are having the full privilege to access that, basically. Okay.
Okay.
And by we can even set some SCP as well, security control policies at the organization account level.
Service
uh,
control policy, right?
um, Security control
SCP means service control policy.
okay. I was getting okay, yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway.
है ना?
Yeah.
Then this is fine. Then for the application level, if it is running, let's say, like a pod, right? Then ensure that we are defining security, like security context, wherein we in the pod level only we can define the run as user, or how the container should run, then run as group, or even the FS group we can define at the pod level. So FS
Okay.
group is basically the security at the file system level inside the
Mm,
container. Okay.
got it.
Then we can even define the network policies at the pod level. So that means we can allow with the ingress and the egress traffic that will be going through and to and fro via the pod.
Yeah.
So yeah, then RBAC, role based access control, and then firewall and AWS Shield. Yeah, and load balance is not required. So yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And of course, CloudTrail for you know
So what about the
keeping it back.
database? I mean, you have.
Huh.
I
Hmm.
said about database also, right? Say about them
Oh,
also.
okay. Okay. So let's say if we have a database as well backed up, so ensure that um, from application will be having access to the database, right? So whoever will be having access to that application inside the EC2 instance, they will be able to only certain users will be having those privilege or permissions to make API calls to the database. So in this way we are restricting that if our pod gets compromised even anyway, right, from someone inside the team, they're not having full access to the database as well. Okay. And the at the database level, ensuring that we are keeping it multiple replicas of the database, we are keeping it in a highly availability, we are ensuring high availability by spreading it across different regions and AZ availability zone.
Okay.
Then yeah, of course, role-based access control will be there, wherein limited permission for that database access. Then that, yeah. Hmm.
Okay. Fine. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. Got it. Got it.
Hmm.
So can you explain again? I'm revolving around best practices, but yeah, those are the things which you say from your experience, right? So can you
Hmm.
explain about what are the best practices around containerization? So how do you containerize? I mean, first explain how do you containerize, and then explain the practices.
Okay, so in order to containerize an application container, we just need to first create and make an image around the same. So we'll just write a Docker file for the same, and then we will build it. So in that way, we'll be able to create an image, and yeah, so then we can store it on any repository, and then we can write let's say pod manifest, where we will be defining the image URL, or um, so no, based on by pulling that image only, the container, like the application, will be starting to run by the
Yeah.
Linux kernel itself. So yeah, that is the containerization process. And okay, best practices for the same. uh, Okay, so ensuring that wait 1 second. Okay, um, ensuring that we are using multi-layer architecture while creating an image. Okay, what it means is, like, usually when while building the image, we get a Docker image which is very much of high amount. So that is difficult to pull or even push to some repositories because of resource limit value. So
Okay.
ensure that we are using less layers, because image is having each layer, right? So we are using less layers, and using distroless architecture. Distroless means like that won't consume that much amount of base image,
Okay.
will be less heavy. Okay, let's say alpine,
Yeah, but
right?
there is another practice. Do you remember of that? I mean, to reduce the size of the Docker
Um,
image.
uh, okay, let me recall. So multi-layer architecture, distroless, and then one more thing. One second. Caching will be there, but okay, wait. So
You have
compressing
less
the
layers,
Docker
but
set. Uh-huh.
okay.
Mm, mm,
Once
uh,
recall. So
one
I would
second.
not say everything.
No, no, yeah. Um, um, this layer, lower base size. Mm, uh, like make image compressor. No,
It's
it's
not a
not that.
PNG.
No, no. I mean image AMI compressor. I was just saying about. Um,
That is
no,
different,
I can.
right? Emma is
Yeah.
different. Container is different. Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. So that's what I can recall.
So do you
Yeah.
know about multi-stage?
Okay. Not that much.
And
Okay, I'm not aware. Yeah. Okay.
okay, you should, you
Okay.
should, you should. I mean, I know about that. Yeah,
I see.
that's an important topic.
I
So
see. Okay.
multi-stage is that you'll have multiple stages. You'll just so for example, in a Docker file, we are passing our build, right? So for
Ah,
example, let's say npm build. So what happens is that it in the Docker image only we are passing it the build. Obviously, the build file and the build artifact is very much huge, right?
I see.
So the
Okay.
generated one is very much huge, and it will be stored in maybe in the Docker image somewhere around this.
Okay. I
So what
see.
happens is that is why the Docker size image, the size of the Docker image
Exactly.
is very large. So
I
we have to
see.
reduce it. So that is why we are using multiple stages here. So here we will pass. So for example, let's say that we have a stage one and stage two. In the stage one, we will define a build, and then the stage two, we will copy that binary of the build in the stage two.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you're copying the binary, right? That is very much
Less.
lightweight compared to the
Um,
build when you pass directly your build. So that
hmm,
is how you reduce the size of the image by using something called as multi-stage build. Okay.
I see.
So even I'm saying the answers because obviously it will always
Help.
reduce your work also. For example, if
Yeah.
any thing, okay. So that yeah. Anyway,
That really
and can
helps.
you explain
Yeah.
security practices in containerization?
Um. Okay. Security practices. Hmm. Security context is one of them, where we are ensuring which are the users we are allowing to create a file, or let's say with what all
Yeah,
permissions,
and now only
right?
you
But
said right, distroless.
but
Yeah, that is also one
uh,
of the security.
I see.
Other one,
Okay. Then
can you say how distroless is used in the terms of security?
um, it's like restorative. Um, 1 second.
What is distroless image? Can you that from that definition you can frame it? Yeah. What
Um,
is distroless?
like where the like we are just having a very much lightweight base image which is not having any other um let's say alpine, so
So
that's what.
if it is having very less dependencies, that means that
Uh-huh.
high security, right?
I see.
So
Yes, yes, yeah. Okay, okay,
so
I see.
so it
I see.
so need not to again do an SBOM if you understand SBOM, right? Do you understand SBOM? So it's like an tracking of each and every dependency from a container or maybe a a application or whatever. So you can track an each application and resolve the vulnerabilities. If it's less dependencies, less vulnerabilities, high
I see. High
security,
security. I
it's
see.
an dependency of dependency of dependency. Okay.
I
So
see.
that is one other thing. Can you explain other three or four?
Hmm. Oh, okay. So at the container level, na? Making use of copy commands rather than using, let's say, while building the image itself, right? So Docker file, let's say in the Docker file, we are just ensure making use of copy commands rather than any add command, because in add command we do make use of URLs or for tar files like zip files and all. So that makes it more vulnerable for security. But this using copy command, we can just pass on the files and directories itself. So and like security context distroless, then this copy command ensuring latest version of the base image is being used always, like rather than making use of any old version, like and uh,
Okay.
hmm,
So don't you check base image vulnerabilities or
um I mean we do, right, like
using
using
secure base image? I mean,
come. Mhm.
I mean, do you have a base image? You have a base image, right? So
Let's
don't
see.
you check on base image?
Yes,
Give a check
like
on base.
huh. So
Yeah, that is also one, right?
I see. Okay, okay, okay,
So
okay,
say
ensuring
it
that,
one.
okay.
Then
I
I know it, but you're murmuring around you. But say it
I see.
confidently.
I
It
see.
is
I
it
see.
is the right answer. So
Yeah.
no, I mean, it can be small, but yeah, say it. So
Okay.
say one more.
So it's like the base image that we are using. It's all should be, being should be of higher security. Then of course latest version, distroless, and then security context at the pod level. Then at the container level. Then
Should we
copy
use
command.
latest tag, or is it a good
Uh,
practice to use latest tag or a versioned tag?
um, it depends. If it's not something like an alpha or beta release of that particular version, then if a stable version is there in the GitHub releases, then make use of latest itself. Otherwise, basically, our end motive should be to make use of a stable version. So, one version lesser than the latest will also be much more effective in terms of, because it will be having the latest bug fixes moreover, and moreover security fixes as well. So, yeah,
Yeah,
one
but
minor
if
version
that
less than
breaks,
the.
obviously application also breaks, right? Automatically, if you use latest version.
So that's why, like, one minor version less than the latest one. That's what.
Okay,
So that
yeah.
means we should define the version number.
Okay,
That's what.
yeah,
uh,
got it,
hmm.
got it. So, so can you explain about uh, Azure Application Gateway?
Application gateway, application load balancer, right? AWS load balancer. Okay. So it's like I'll
No, no,
ex-
Azure Application Gateway.
gate. It's like a load balancer itself. Right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah,
So it's like it operates on layer 7, like wherein of the OSI model, where it works on HTTP and HTTPS, and specifically make use of content based routing and path based routing. So
yeah,
right, and it helps in load balancing the request to the end target effectively based on certain rules that we can even define further. So it helps, it is more flexible and easy to manage as well in that way. And yeah, yeah, with of course
okay,
security is being followed. So yeah,
okay.
it provides
Got it,
static
got it.
IP. We can make use of single IP, like which is
So,
accessible
what
to
is
the end
difference
target.
between application load balancer and what's that? Network load balancer. Sorry.
Network load balancer. Okay, so it's like application load balancer operates on layer 7 of the OSI model. Of course, it's like works on HTTP and HTTPS traffic, And while NLB, network load balancer, basically operates on layer 4. So basically it handles the
Okay.
TCP and UDP traffic. Okay, so we can have multiple content based routing, path based routing, and even SSL and TLS encryption at the load balancer level, application load balancer level. While in case of NLB, nothing like this happens. So that's why NLB is mostly used for where we want lowest latency, high throughput, and wherein no SSL TLS encryption is required. Okay, so that's why most of the situation we use NLB in front of application load balancer for faster and stable, network routing as well. And yeah, so NLB is having two types of target modes: IP target mode and target instance type of target type. So IP means where the traffic will be directly routed to the pod IP itself. And either if we use instance type, then it will be of course routed to the instances. While the application load balancer is already configured with this based on the rules that we define in it. And yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So got it. And what is gateway load balancer?
Sure. So gateway load balancer is like a type which make you gets operated on third layer 3 and layer 4 of the OSI model. It basically whatever incoming traffic is coming, it just pass through it. Okay, allows the passage of it. It does not perform any SSL encryption and termination. It's and but of course in terms of security we can incorporate, and that's why it makes it more effective. So in that way, yeah.
Okay, got it.
Hmm.
And can you say what are the Azure services do you use till now? I mean, can you list
Uh,
down?
sure. So in terms of Azure, of course, the VMs, virtual machines, then the blob storage, okay, then
Okay.
uh, VNet, which is the VPC in case of AWS, and then for
Not Azure,
database,
Azure.
Azure, I'm saying like VNet is there, yeah,
Okay.
and then for Redis is there, Azure Redis and blob storage, this VM, then application gateway, and one second, there's Azure uh, security key, like SSH keys are there, Azure SSH keys for SSH into it. Then for KMS also we do have Azure Shield, then Azure Action Center, Azure Security. Um, ad- Security advisor, Azure Monitor is also there, where I used to monitor all the metrics and all. It is similar to CloudWatch that we have for AWS, right?
Okay.
And how many I've listed? One more. Uh, One second. Um, uh, VM. Azure serverless. One second. Uh, what was it? I'm Like for Fargate, we have right for serverless. There is one more for Azure.
Cloud
Um,
functions.
cloud. Azure functions are there, and then uh, one more is there for.
Yeah, fine. No
I'm
problem.
just
I
trying to
mean, the
recall
names are
only.
different, but concept is
Huh,
same.
yeah,
That's the
that's
thing. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so for example, in this
uh,
role, okay, so if
hmm,
it required my this Azure, will you learn Azure and implement it?
definitely. Definitely,
Okay.
because
Fine.
like I'm a certified solutions architect for AWS, so I've worked with multiple solutions architect people for designing the infrastructure. If I had to per se, like for Disney Plus Hotstar, Blinkit, Zepto, and most of this Diwali sale, and for this Black Friday sale, and for during IPL, I was the POC and I worked in production environment, so
Cool.
of the customers. So I'm aware, like how to. It's just like remembering the names and some couple of more things. So like network security group, and it's of course the same. So and that too, I've worked on it in my first company, Morgan Stanley. So I'll just get to just refresh it again. So that's pretty
Okay.
much.
Fine.
Hmm.
Got it. Yeah, that is an interview. I mean, I know it took a long, but yeah, it's
It's
a
like
lot of
it's
technical
absolutely
witty. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. So,
it's
any
absolutely.
questions? I mean,
Uh, yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, I would like to understand a bit more on this, role that what all teams I'll be collaborating with, and what are the open source tool, if any, I should be aware of while working in this
so
team. If you can get me through, yeah.
okay. So you will be collaborating with developer team, security teams. Okay. So obviously you have to implicitly use some of the tools which are, I mean, security tools. Some of the tools you have to include in the CI/CD pipelines. So mainly some of the open source tools which are like Argo CD, like the
Okay.
continuous deployment, maybe Grafana, Prometheus, that is fine. And moreover, you'll use some other tools like advanced tools like Hotel,
Open telemetry.
Hotel, or maybe it other tools also. There are a lot of
ELK
observability
stack.
tools. Yeah.
ELK stack.
So according to the requirement, you have to learn. I'm not saying you have to learn, but obviously you have a previous experience. For example, using some of the logging tools or monitoring tools, so you can relate to that experience and do the task according to that. That is what I'm saying.
I
So
see.
I hope you can do that. That is why, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. That really. Sure. That answers a lot. Yeah. And
Yeah.
GitOps as well, and a couple of more things. So yeah, understood.
Yeah, you have to work on them
Hmm. Yeah.
once see about those. I mean,
Sure. Sure.
uh,
And
okay.
yeah, just one more thing, like just to add on, I've even worked on Kafka as well. So, so it's like just going through these stuffs again as to how they are implemented in case of Azure, integration wise. So I just need to get through. So it won't take much time as well if I even join the team as well. So that's a confirmation from my side. So yeah,
Okay, cool, cool,
yeah,
cool, cool.
yeah.
So yeah, any questions? I mean,
No, no,
any
that's
other
pretty much.
questions?
That really answers a lot. Uh, yeah, sure. I'm all good.
So
Yeah,
yeah, and I'll give a feedback. So now, okay, 1 minute. So feedback is that yeah, you were good. I mean, let me say that you're confident enough at all. So some of the technicalities like EKS or maybe cluster upgrades or maybe some of the best practices. Yeah, that's fine. But one thing is that always mm, maybe don't murmur in yourself. That is
I see.
one of the
Okay.
feedback. Okay,
Hmm.
so even it is a small thing, say it confidently. Okay, so, for example, you only saw it, right? I mean,
I
you're
see.
murmuring around that thing. Maybe you're not confident, but obviously, I mean, we will not say anything, right? We will just
Correct.
give a feedback to you. We will assess you. That's it. Okay. So always do like that. Be confident. And yeah, it went good. I mean, let me be honest. Yeah, it went good. So yeah, I
Hmm.
have to assess with my fellow mentors. So yeah, I'll give you back a name around that. So yeah, that's
Sure.
it. That's a feedback.
That really. I'll take care of it. And thank you. Thank you for supporting as well. And yeah, that really helps. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you will be getting this recorded. I mean,
Okay.
and
Okay.
so you can literally rewatch this also. So even for your future interviews also, this will be as a reference. Okay, so we'll be
Sure.
sending it to client so that they can assess it on that. So yeah, that is about it.
Sure. Sure. That really helps. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, fine, Ujjwal.
Uh,
Yeah, then.
cool. Cool.
Bye.
Uh, cool. Thank you. Have a nice day. Nice evening.
Yeah,
Bye bye.
fine. Yeah, fine.
Take care. Bye
Thanks.
bye. Bye.